guys remember this dude?
Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. This was the largest audience to ever witness an inauguration, period, both in person and around the globe.
Yeah, that's right. Sean Spicer still exists. He's like still out in the world. He's still simping for Donald Trump. And I find it hilarious because we all know that Donald Trump made him his bitch. And then after Donald Trump forced Sean Spicer to, be his bitch and give up all of his credibility, then Donald Trump fired him because, things wasn't going the way that Donald Trump wanted. And Sean Spicer took the brunt of that and he got fired. And Sean Spicer, since that moment, has just been kissing the ass of Donald Trump. I liken Sean Spicer to Ted Cruz, who, after Donald Trump attacked Ted Cruz's wife mercilessly, famously went and phone banked for Donald Trump and has kissed Donald Trump's ass ever since. So Sean Spicer is back. He has a new book about just how wrong and radical the Biden administration is. Let's check this out.
But to your question, Michael, the reason I called it Radical Nation wasn't because Sean Spicer thought Joe Biden was going to be radical or the Daily Wire was saying that Joe Biden. It's because during the presidential campaign, Joe Biden pledged to be the most progressive president ever. He said it. No one took him seriously, and mostly people on the right. And you had all of these establishment right-wingers coming out and saying, I've known Joe Biden, he was in the Senate, he's a pragmatist, he's a moderate, he's an institutionalist.
Yeah, he is a moderate, he is an institutionalist, and I think you've seen that play out quite clearly since he's become president. Now, the thing that they're going to say is most radical about him is nothing that I think that is really radical at all. But, Republicans love to play the culture wars. Republicans love to fight the culture wars, even as they're screaming at the top of their lungs about those evil Democrat socialists playing the culture wars. But it's usually not us on the left that play the culture wars. We've already accepted people. It's those on the right, those who haven't already accepted people, that are fighting the culture wars.
But Biden understood something that I don't think we all appreciated, which he understood legacy. And that if you're only going to get 4 years, which, let's be honest, that's what's going to happen, that you can either try to accomplish a great deal or you can do a great deal that cements your legacy. One of the first things I write about in the book is this meeting he had in the cabinet room with all of these liberal historians talking about how to outdo FDR.
So Biden's not going to outdo FDR. All right, just get that over with. I consider Biden to be a lame duck. I consider, if Biden actually runs again in 2024 against Donald Trump or whoever runs with that Republican nomination, I think we're in big trouble. I think the Democratic Party is in huge trouble. I think that they'll lose. And I think that about Kamala Harris, too. I think if Biden decides not to run and they prop up Kamala Harris as the establishment pick to be the next president, I think the country is screwed. But like I said, this is all about the culture wars. We all know that Joe Biden isn't a radical progressive. He's not radical. He's moderate. He's more on the right, a moderate right-leaning Democrat. That's what he is. He's establishment, has been forever. And yeah, he might have talked a big game trying to beat Bernie Sanders, trying to get some of Bernie Sanders' voters. But we all knew he wasn't going to do it. And I'll even grant you, at first it did seem like he was placating to progressives. At first it did seem like he was more progressive than I thought he would be. But it didn't take long for him to show us who he really is. And we find it hilarious when those of you on the right try to talk about just how radically left Joe Biden is, when those of us on the actual left are just looking at you and what you talking about, Willis?
And so you've seen him not through action in policy, although that's part of it, but through appointment. Kamala Harris, the first woman of color. Pete Buttigieg, the first LGBTQ person to lead a department, not in the cabinet, which was Grinnell, but to lead a department. And all of these things, first transgender force star, because all of these things allow him to say, I was more progressive, I was more liberal, I was more radical than anybody else. And we missed it.
So there it is. There's that classic Republican attempt to fight the culture wars. You know, they'll go and scream about how the left does it all the time when we don't. Like I said, we've already accepted, folks, fighting those culture wars. So, Joe Biden's policy might be moderate, but he went and, made that black woman his vice president. He made a trans woman a 4-star general. He made a gay dude, head of a department. And we on the left, we find nothing wrong with this. You clearly do. You clearly think that, wow, this is fucking radical, extreme, when it's not. We on the left actually look at policy. And no, we're not going to hold Joe Biden up as some fucking example for future presidents on how to be progressive, because he has failed in that.
This is a great point, because the reason that I never believed the whole Biden's a moderate, he's going to be a return to normal thing, is that I think Joe Biden's political ideology involves licking his index finger when he gets up in the morning, he puts it in the air, figures out whichever way the wind is blowing, that's going to be Joe Biden's view that day. I don't say it to be mean, but he is as empty a suit as I have ever seen in American politics.
Like, you're talking about 99% of the politicians we elect into office. You're talking about literally everyone in the Republican Party who licks their finger, puts it up to the wind, and sees whatever way the wind is blowing on that Trump train so they can follow it. And you see how that backfired against it, because the one time Donald Trump himself didn't do that, lick his finger, put it up to the wind to see which way the base was going, was over vaccines. And you've seen, just the pushback Donald Trump, the supreme leader, has gotten from that. So will I admit that describes Joe Biden accurately? Yes, I will. It also described Hillary Clinton accurately. It also describes Mitch McConnell accurately. It also describes Donald Trump accurately. It also describes literally almost every politician elected into office once they've had a little bit of time to taste that power.
Well, but if you understand, if you're 78 years old and first of all, it's funny that you mentioned the policy stuff. There's a whole chapter in the book that I love about his position on being pro-life. I mean, he started off as a big defender of life and talking about life begins at conception and Roe was wrongly decided. And now suddenly he doesn't remember all of those quotes he gave to Catholic newspapers in Delaware when he was a senator.
Well, no, he remembers them just like all of the other Democrats does that was against abortion and has come out against abortion and was more pro-life, mainly to placate voters and to get some of those votes. Just like all of the Democrats and politicians that were against, gay marriage. They eventually changed their mind. That's what the base is there for. If you're not going to do it because you can empathize with people, if you're not going to do it because you're compassionate, well, then do it because you're going to get voted out if you don't. And like I said, we don't have to play these culture wars. Our side, at least, has accepted people, and we forced our politicians to do the same. It would be nice if you guys did that too. But what you force your politicians to do is to go farther and farther right, farther and farther authoritarian, because you hate the left so much. And that's not even your fault. You were raised into that. You were indoctrinated into that. And now you can't see anything outside of that hatred for the left. That's why you have to point the finger at Joe Biden and call him a socialist, because those are those demonizing words that allow you to hate this man that is more on your side of the political aisle than mine.
But look, he understands. I'm 78 years old. I'd be 82 when I ran. I'm way too old to begin with now. And so if I do a bunch of stuff, and again, I think the policy is part of it, packing the court, making DC a state, expanding government, allowing illegals to vote, all of that is part of it. But the one thing that you can't take away from it, if nothing else gets passed, and I think some of it will, he can at least say, I appointed all of these people, and he is the North Star for progressive leftists forever, saying, well, Biden appointed the first woman of color to VP. What will you do? He appointed the first transgender 4-star. What will you do?
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard. We're just going to ignore the outright failure of Joe Biden because he appointed a few people. You know, and for us, it's not, I don't care that you appointed Buttigieg, a gay man. I'd rather you appoint somebody who actually deserves it. Not Buttigieg, who has that police scandal back when he was mayor. Never addressed it, never talked about it, completely bent to the will of his donors. No, you misread the left because you have your head so far up your ass that you don't know what the left really is. You think Joe Biden is a radical. And the moment you say that, well, you lose all credibility. And you come out with, yet again, just another one of the worst takes. Kind of like when you came out and pointed the finger at the media and said this was the biggest audience ever for an inauguration, period. Well, guess what, Sean Spicer? Your take here, your take on the left, your read of the left is the worst take of the left ever, period. I want to thank y'all for watching the video. If you liked it, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, share me on your social media, comment in the comment section below, hit that bell so you're notified every time I put out a new video or every time I have a live stream. And as always, I'll see you guys soon.